let's talk about your first impression, Rose. Rachel, she was so
Wow.
sweet.
Isn't she great?
What was it about her that really stood out?
Everything. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. I'm very attracted to women who are successful, and she is. But more than anything, when Rachel got out of the limo and we first started talking, it was so effortless in kind of how we communicated. I was so stressed out that night about wanting to make every woman comfortable, right? And I was a little nervous about that. So I feel like I'm a pretty good conversationalist, but at the same time, it's hard to kind of come up with new material,
right.
And try to have authentic conversations. And the women are nervous though, so they, in defense to them, they're so nervous that I usually am the one asking the questions and the talking.
You're trying to help them.
Yeah, and with Rachel, she was so calm and so natural, very easy to talk to. I could have talked with her for hours that night. And she made me feel comfortable and kind of was a calming influence on me. And I think the combination of all that, quite honestly, made my decision very easy. As great as all the women were that night, and I had a lot of great choices, she was kind of leaps and bounds, kind of the standout of that evening.
By the way, me and Jimmy Kimmel share the #1 pick that he had.
Who is?
Vanessa.
Okay. Yeah, people seem to be responding well to Vanessa.
My husband was watching, he goes, oh, she's going to win, for sure.
Yeah?
She's going to win.
What do you like about Vanessa?
She's very sweet. She's beautiful. She's
I would
special
agree.
eds teacher.
Takes
she's smart.
Takes a special person.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of patience.
And she just, I don't know, I just think she's going to win.
Okay.
I see the chemistry between you two.
All right.
The very little that we've seen the two of you together.
I mean, that's
all you can say.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, I was night one. It was such a blur to me.
Yeah.
It's funny hearing people's reactions.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my head was a blur, but I'm glad that you guys always seem to know. Yeah, I mean, I had some great women night one. I was very excited and very encouraged about the rest of things after night one, and it's always interesting to hear other people's feedback.
We saw in the preview you get slapped on the face. Does that happen only once this season? Does that happen more than once? What happened here?
You'll have to watch next week, actually.
Jeez.
Yeah,
it looked like it was pretty painful.
It was. Yeah, I can say that. It hurt.
It hurt, yeah.
It was unexpected and painful. And you should watch next week to see why.
We saw some in the previews that you're tearing up and you're crying, so it's definitely things get emotional.
Of course, yeah. Even, fairly early on. I mean, I think things kick off right out of the gate. I mean, I think you saw night one, Liz showing up, I think already created some, drama, if you will. I think that theme rolls right into next week in terms of actually being able to sit down with Liz and have a real conversation with her about, our past and her showing up, as well as starting to really get to know these other women and building relationships right off the bat. And I think things get pretty intense pretty quickly.
I thought you were so smart to just immediately question Liz on why she came to this show when she could have reached out to you for months.
I mean, it just seemed like the obvious question. I didn't want to accuse her of anything. I certainly wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I was a little taken back because she took the approach of kind of pretending not to know me.
Yeah.
Apparently to see if I did remember, which I definitely did. It was just like, when she first got out, I recognized her immediately. But then when, as a result of her not acknowledging it, for a second, I definitely second guessed it. I was like, I mean, is it her or is it someone that looks just like her?
Which it could happen.
Because she didn't say her name at first.
And you'd also seen like 15 women.
I'd seen like 14 other women, and on the off chance I was wrong, I didn't want to be like, hey, it's great to see you, and have her be like, I'm Pam,
Right. Corinne, okay, she made quite a splash last night.
I think in a great way.
Yeah, she is definitely, they're kind of painting her to be the villain. Is that true? How do the women look at her?
I don't see things in black and white.
Okay.
I'm more of a gray kind of guy.
Okay.
And everyone knows that in the traditional sense, I was considered a villain on Andy's season at least, and by some people's standards, Caitlin's season. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I am someone who is assertive, who goes for what they want. Corinne is someone who does that, and you can take it either way, right? I don't think Corinne was in any way disrespectful. She took a risk and she went for it. and I think she is also funny. And at the same time, you know, everyone makes mistakes, and I think you'll see kind of Corinne's journey as she kind of navigates through that. But I like strong women. I like women who aren't afraid to have some fun, to go for it, to put themselves out there at the risk of being criticized. I'm not looking for someone who's the prom queen and doesn't have, you know, who tries to do everything perfect. And so overall, I thought Corinne was great night one. I think she was entertaining. She made me laugh watching it back. You know, she speaks her mind, and I like that.
In the preview that things might get like she's wanting to get things a little more aggressive later.
Possibly.
And
yeah.
how did you approach the whole, well, that wasn't exactly
physical aspect of things?
Sure.
Well, you know, again, as someone who wants to learn from mistakes, again, I think the physical aspect of relationships is an important part of any relationship. And especially knowing what I was looking for in terms of potentially finding the one, there's the physical aspect. But at the same time, having been in Bachelor world and kind of being associated with sex and the timing of it, that's something as going into the season I wanted to make sure I learned from.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, I had to be able to explore these relationships and find out if this was someone who was right for me. And so there's going to be a lot of situations this season where I find myself in situations where I have to decide whether to say yes to or say no to,
Yeah.
and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I think you'll hopefully find out what I do.
Were you more nervous to see the premiere last night, or were you more nervous to actually be there in person on that first night when the girls were walking out the limo?
100% the latter. Actually, like meeting women that you've never met before with the hope and expectation that maybe one of them will be someone that you'll connect with in a way that you might want to spend the rest of your life with is a pretty nerve-wracking evening. Watching it back, actually, you know, I had seen it before last night,
Okay.
and I was pleased with how things were shown, and so I was very optimistic that it would go over well. But was I right?
Yes, it was great. I loved it. I thought it was really... One question I have to ask, and I've always wondered this may be giving away a Bachelor secret, but how do you know their names when you're handing out the roses? Because you just met these people. There's no way you know all 30 women's names.
Showing a genuine interest
No
in
way.
these women and remembering.
That is
I think
so
it's really
funny.
the only way you can do that.
For real?
Yeah.
They have a cue card, cheat card. Like, do you look at like a grid and then like hand the rose?
No, I just remember their names.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're great. Okay, well, then that's pretty impressive if that's true.
Thank you.
So tell me, what's your relationship status now?
Possibly, maybe with someone, and possibly not.
Possibly, maybe, possibly not. Are you happy?
I'm always happy, but thank you for asking.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to think that I generally am a pleasant and happy person, even when things don't go so well.
So you can't confirm or deny if you're engaged?
I cannot.
Okay.
No.
Well, did you run into the Ben problem where you fall in love with more than one woman?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility? Is that something that's easy to do? When you're in
Is
this
it easy to
situation?
do? I think I will say, like, I had a lot of conversations with Chris and Ben before night one. You know, you saw a little bit of that on the show, and I actually had some private conversations with them as well. And they talked a lot about just the difficulties of being the Bachelor. And I will say everything they warned me about, they were absolutely spot on and right about in terms of the challenges of being the Bachelor. And there's just a lot of intensity, a lot of emotions, and all the things that you think that probably won't happen do in fact happen. And you know, we all saw what happened with Ben last season, and that may or may not have happened with me. It might have, it might not have. You'll have to watch. I don't know. I do think it'll be very interesting.